Hello and welcome to one and all. In today's class, we will check out the next 5 marks answer from Unit 9 Money, Banking and Inflation. That is, what are all the various kinds of deposits accepted by commercial banks. Okay, so this is SAQ 36. Explain the different kinds of deposits accepted by the commercial bank. So the main function of commercial bank is to accept deposits from the general public and lend them the loans and advances. Okay, so the first, let us check out what are all the various kinds of deposits accepted by the commercial banks. So as usual, let me explain to you briefly what are all the various types of deposits and what are all the differences, and we will come back to the answer. Okay, so there are two types of deposits accepted by the commercial banks. The first one is the demand deposits and the second one is the time or term deposits. Okay, so the demand deposits, the name itself says, so these are all the deposits payable on demand by the bank to the customer, because the customer has deposited his money in the bank, and whenever the customer demands this money, it is the responsibility or the bank is liable to repay the amount to the customer. So that is what is known as the demand deposits. And the second type of deposits is the time or the term deposits. So these are the types of deposits payable by the bank to the customers only after the maturity period. So these are all the types of deposits which are made by the customer for a specified period of time. Okay, so the bank is liable to repay to the customer one day after the maturity period. So that is the difference between the demand deposits and the time or term deposits. So there are two types of demand deposits. One is the current account deposit and the another one is the savings account deposits. Okay, and as far as the term deposits are concerned, one is the fixed deposit account and another one is the recurring deposit. First, let us check out the demand deposit, that is the current account deposit and the savings account deposit. So now, what are all the features or the differences between the current account deposit and the savings account deposit? The first, current account deposit is also a type of demand deposit. Savings account deposit is also a type of demand deposit. Both these deposits are to be paid by the bank to the customer on demand. Okay, and then the second one, the current account deposit is made or opened into the current account of the bank. Okay, so the customer opens a current account and the money is deposited towards the current account of the customer in that respective bank. Similarly, so the customer opens a savings account. If the customer wants to open a savings account, he or she can open a savings account and the money is deposited towards the savings account. That is the savings account deposit. Okay, now this third one, current account deposit, these are all mostly convenient to the business people, public authorities and joint stock companies, and whereas the savings account deposit is convenient to people with small savings. So the people, the middle and low income group, if the bank wants to develop the habit of thrift, okay, so this is mostly convenient to small and middle income, low income groups like the small business people, salaried people, artisans, etc. That's why generally people belonging to low and middle income groups. Okay, now as far as the current account is deposit, for no interest is paid. See, normally when we deposit our money in the bank pays the rate of interest, but as far as the current account is concerned, the bank does not pay any interest to the current account holder. So this is because, see, why the bank is accepting the deposits from the public. See, it is called as a commercial bank. Now, what is the meaning of a commercial bank? Commercial bank means operating for commercial purpose, commercial motive, that is in order to make profit. Okay, so commercial bank is, the main function of commercial bank is to accept the deposit so that the banks can lend this money in the form of loans, advances to the people, and through that the difference in the rate of interest, the banks can make profit, because the rate of interest given by the commercial banks on deposits is lesser than the rate of interest charged by the banks on loans and advances. So that difference happens to be the profit for the bank. But as far as the current account deposits are concerned, the bank is not making any profit, because here the customer can withdraw anytime he wants. Morning he can deposit and evening he can withdraw. So the banks cannot lend this money to the customers. Okay, so the bank is not making any profit out of this. So that's why the bank is not paying any interest to the current account holder. On the top of it, the bank collects service charges from the customers, because it is almost like the bank is keeping the money as a safe custody. Okay, so for maintaining the money, or for the maintaining the funds of the customer, keeping the funds in the form of safe custody, the banks charges some kind of commission or some kind of service charges from the customer. But whereas the savings account, the bank can use the money for lending purpose, maybe for a short period of time, and the bank pays the rate of interest, even though the rate of interest paid is low compared to the other types of deposit, that the fixed deposit, the recurring deposit, higher rate of interest are charged. But then the bank pays lesser rate of interest. I think it's around 4%, but it is not stable. According to the circumstances, it keeps changing. Okay, but anyway, the current account, the bank does not pay any rate of interest, but whereas in the savings account, the bank pays the rate of interest, even though the rate of interest is low. Okay, and regarding the withdrawals, the current account holder, there are no restriction on withdrawals. Okay, so anytime the current account holder wants the money to be withdrawn, he can withdraw. That is the reason the banks cannot lend this money to another customer in the form of loan. But whereas as far as the savings account is concerned, the banks imposes certain restrictions on the amount and number of times of withdrawal. That is, how much amount can be withdrawn. It's a certain minimum balance should be maintained in the account, and the number of times the customer can withdraw, like maybe once a week or once in 2 weeks or something like that. Some kind of restrictions are imposed on the customer on the amount and number of times the customer can withdraw the money from the savings account. Okay, so these are all the features or the differences between the current account and the savings account. Next, moving on to the time deposit or the term deposit. There are two types of deposit, that is the fixed deposit versus recurring deposit. Okay, so both are, fixed deposit is also a type of time or term deposit, and recurring deposit also is a type of time or term deposit. In fact, recurring deposit is one of the variety of the fixed deposit only. Okay, so this again, fixed deposit is made or opened into a fixed account of a bank. The customer opens a fixed account and deposits a certain amount of money for a specific period of time, and the customer can withdraw the money only after the specific period of time. So this fixed deposit account is made or opened into a fixed account of the bank. So this one, recurring deposit, made or opened into a recurring account of a bank. And the money in, as far as the fixed deposit concerned, money in lump sum amount is deposited for a fixed period of time. See, the main difference between the fixed deposit and the recurring deposit is that the fixed deposit, if a person is having a customer is having a lump sum amount of money, and he wants to deposit the money in the bank so that he will get a higher rate of interest. So it is convenient for the people who are having a lump sum amount of money. For them, they can open a fixed account and they can deposit the money for a certain period of time. Okay, but if a person is not having a lump sum amount of money at once, okay, so what he can do, the person can open a recurring deposit, and periodically, so periodically keep like periodically in the sense every month the person, the customer can keep on depositing certain amount of money towards that recurring account. Okay, a fixed deposit holder is having a lump sum amount of money, so that he at one shot he is able to deposit the entire money on the fixed deposit account. Recurring deposit holder is not having a lump sum amount at one shot, but it is like he is depositing in the form of installments. Periodically every month he keeps on depositing certain amount towards this account. Only condition is this should be in the multiples of 10. The amount deposited towards the recurring account should be in the multiples of 10. Okay, so that is the difference between the fixed deposit and the recurring deposit. And of course, since fixed deposit the one shot lump sum amount is deposited by the customer, it carries a high rate of interest. Of all the types of deposit, the banks provide the highest rate of return interest to the fixed deposit holder. In the recurring deposit, the rate of interest is lesser than the fixed deposit, but it is definitely higher than what the bank gives for the savings account holder. Okay, because here also the recurring deposit also the bank can lend loans for a longer period of time compared to the savings deposit. So the rate of interest is given is lesser than the fixed deposit rate, but it is higher than the savings deposit. Okay, now these are all the various types of deposits accepted by the commercial banks. Okay, hope the answer is clear to you. Now let us move to the answer. So SAQ 36 explain different kinds of deposits accepted by the commercial banks. And so one of the primary functions of commercial banks is to accept various kinds of deposits from the public. So that is called as the primary deposits. Okay. So the first one, savings deposits. These deposits are made by people with small savings in savings account. The rate of interest paid on these deposits is low, around 4% per annum. See, this is not a fixed rate of interest. According to the circumstances, the Reserve Bank of India will will change the rate of interest. There are some restrictions on the number of times and amount of withdrawals. They are most convenient to small businessmen or women, salaried employees, and people belonging to the low and middle income groups, because they don't have higher amount of money, huge amount of money. So but still they want to gain certain amount of interest by depositing in the bank. So that's why for this purpose the savings account is opened in the bank. And the second one, current deposits. These deposits are made by businessmen or women, joint stock companies, etc., into the current account. There is no rate of interest paid towards these deposits, but instead, banks may charge service charges from the depositors for maintaining these accounts, because the bank is maintaining the money. The bank is maintaining these accounts on behalf of the customer. So for that purpose, even though the bank is not making any money out of it, so for that purpose, the bank is charging the service charges. There are no restrictions on withdrawals. Okay, and savings deposits and current deposits are types of demand deposit, that is deposits payable by bank on demand by the customer. That is, whenever the customer demands it, the bank has to repay. Okay, then the next one, term deposits. They are also called as fixed deposits. Money is deposited for a fixed period of time. The rate of interest paid by the bank is high, that is around 6% to 8.5% per annum. Again, this also can vary according to the circumstances. The money can be withdrawn only after the maturity period. However, fixed deposits can be used as security against loss. If a person, you cannot withdraw the money from the account because it has to be there for a certain period of time, because you will lose the certain amount if you withdraw. But if the customer wants to take loan from the bank, this can be kept as a security and customer can borrow loans from the bank. Okay. Then D, recurring deposits. This is a type of fixed deposit. People who do not have lump sum amount can deposit in recurring account a fixed amount in the multiples of 10 or deposited every month for a period of 1 or more years. The rate of interest paid is lesser than fixed deposits but higher than savings deposit. Okay, fixed deposits and recurring deposits are term deposits or time deposit, that is deposit payable after the maturity of certain term or time. These deposits are payable by bank only after the maturity period. Okay, so these are all the various kinds of deposits accepted by the commercial banks. Okay, hope the answer is clear to you. If you have any suggestions or doubts, please mention them in the comment box. Otherwise, if you find this video useful, please like, share, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Okay, so until my next class, take care. Bye bye.